am, a beautiful phrase that I can totally relate to. Today, whatever I am is because I gave wings to my thoughts. Thoughts that have led me to this point where I stand in front of you, sharing my journey of creating a multi-crore brand. Hi, this is Chinu Kala, founder of Bounce Accessories. We all have dreams, but to make them come true, we need to truly believe in ourselves, which is what I did at every stage of my life. When I was 15, I had a bitter fight with my father, and he asked me to leave the house. I was an extremely strong-headed child, so without thinking of consequences, I left the home with just 300 rupees in my pocket. Once out, I did not know where to go, so I went to a friend's house. But her mom, as soon as she heard that I had a fight with my dad, she obviously asked me to just go back home immediately. I did walk back, but did not go home. I stood below my building for hours and kept thinking, what am I going to do next? By then, it was already night, so I headed to the railway station. By now, I was also hungry. Bought myself a vada pav worth 5 rupees. Suddenly a thought struck me that how many vada pavs will I be able to buy with this 300 rupees? And how many days or months will this 300 rupees last? Well, I was scared. I was petrified with this thought. But going back was not an option for me. So I kept sitting there at the railway station entire night and kept crying. I was there for 2 whole nights, and the third morning, a lady walked up to me and asked me what's wrong. I narrated the entire incident to her and told her that going back home was not an option for me, and I needed a job to earn some money. She told me about a door-to-door agency where they were looking for a sales girl. The job sounded very simple and also did not need any qualification. So I went to their office and I did get a job. Here I was supposed to sell coasters, knife sets and other household items, and I thought selling these will be a cakewalk. But I encountered a bitter truth when the first door I knocked got slammed on my face. My confidence was shattered. I was numb and I just didn't know what happened. I sat there on the steps of that apartment trying to think what just happened to me. Later, somehow gathered courage, stood up and went and knocked the next door because I did not have the luxury of giving up. This was my first encounter with real life. And after that, I spent several months going from one door to other, faced countless rejections, and every door that got slammed on my face made me tougher and made my resolve to be successful much stronger. Door-to-door sales makes you resilient. Even though the success rate is just 2%, I never stopped giving it my 100% because here I was working for my survival. I used to just make 20 to 40 rupees a day, but those were the most precious earning of mine. Initially, I used to stay in a dormitory with 25 other girls, but then I got promoted and moved to a PG with just 4 women. Well, this was a huge jump for me. The next few years, I shuffled between various odd jobs: a telecaller, a waitress, a receptionist, and a sales executive at a clothing store. I worked more than 16-17 hours every day, outperforming my peers in every way, as I did not have the privilege to not perform. At the clothing store, my job was to interact with customers, understand their needs, their wants, and most importantly, identify with their budgets. As someone who could not finish her schooling, here I was getting a chance to understand consumer behavior, which itself is a subject in B schools. Fast forward a few years, I got married. And in 2007, I participated in Gladrak's Mrs. India pageant, where I got exposed to a completely different world the glamorous world of fashion and jewelry. I noticed that all the participants wore amazing outfits and makeup, but it was only the right accessories that completed the entire look. And this observation stayed with me for many years. By 2008, I had ventured into corporate merchandising, and I was fortunate to work with some of the biggest brands of the country. Whenever I interacted with these brand managers of these organizations, I could see the passion they had for their brands. And I used to get very excited about the thought of building my own brand someday. In 2014, I decided to combine all my learnings and my love for fashion to create my own jewelry brand. I knew I was getting into a $2 billion industry with no technical know-how on how to run a fashion business. But I was ready to give it whatever it takes to make it successful. I invested in a 6x6 small space in a popular mall. People loved our jewelry, but I wanted the brand to grow much bigger, and the only way that was possible was to have a space in the best mall in the city. Unfortunately, the mall was not ready to give us the space because we were not a brand. And I was not ready to give up and not ready to open a store in any other mall. So somehow I got hold of a mall manager's number, kept calling him for 6 months. I used to call him almost every week to get a place in his mall. One day I got frustrated and told him that you should at least have a look at what I have to offer. And if you didn't like it, I promise I will stop calling you. To my luck, this time he agreed to come to my kiosk. I was fully prepared with the entire collection thought, and I also explained him the vision for the brand. After the presentation, he said, "Chinu, you have got the space. Get ready for the opening." This was one of the biggest moments. I was very happy, but my happiness was short-lived, as the mall manager told me that in order to sign the agreement, I will have to pay a security deposit of 10 months rent upfront. The money I had was not enough to pay the deposit and also design the store. So I went back to the mall manager and asked him to give me some extra time. To my luck, he agreed again. I knew I had taken a big risk. So for next 1 month, I used to go to the mall every day in the morning and sit there for almost 8 hours seeing what the customers were really buying, as I wanted to be completely informed about the customer choices of this mall. My research paid off. The day we started, our store was an instant hit. With just our first month's sale, we were able to pay our 10 months deposit. Fast forward 2 years, we had 6 stores across the South India. We were doing really well, and I was happy with the way we were growing. It was in sometime 2017 when my husband, during a casual conversation, mentioned that India had become #1 country in the world for data consumption. This was also the time when the news of e-commerce giants like Flipkart, Myntra, etc. were making waves in the market. I started thinking about the future of retail and could foresee that retail as a sector was about to change, as these e-commerce giants were going to change the buying habits of Indian consumers. So I decided to go digital, and today we are a 100% online brand. Life for me has never been a straight line. Just when the things were steady and we were growing by more than 120% year on year, I got a call one July morning at 6 a.m. 2019 saying that my office had caught fire. I could not really wrap my head around this, so just drove to the office. Since my office was on the 4th floor, I could see flames coming out of the windows. We had lost everything. Our systems, our studio, our stationery, and our stocks. My 4,000 square feet office had burnt into ashes. By night, I was back to my senses, and I told my team that we will resume work the next day, but from my home. My team, on one hand, thought I was completely crazy, but on the other hand, they also had a blind faith in me that I will have some plan. Being in the IT capital was a huge boon as I was able to borrow laptops from my neighbors. And the next day, we were indeed working. In next 15 days, we were back online. And in just 3 months, we actually doubled our sale. And I believe that when we fall down, we have only two paths to choose from. Either stay down or get up, brace ourselves and start fighting again. And I chose the latter. I've been able to build a brand and take it to where it is today as I always kept evolving. From the beginning of my journey, I knew that I would be competing with people who would be more qualified, more experienced, and even more talented than me. But I also knew that while I may not be able to outplay them, I can certainly outwork them. For past 24 years, I have been working for more than 15-16 hours a day to make sure that we do not lose the edge. My journey so far has been worth all the efforts I have put in. And right from my first job till date, I have been learning something new every day. During these years, I have made both good and bad decisions, but always owned them. One positive thing about entrepreneurship is that you're not answerable to anyone. But this is also the scariest part because there's no one to tell you where you're going wrong. You evolve each day. Each day teaches you a valuable lesson. And I feel entrepreneurship is a long and lonely journey. A marathon